So I'm delighted to be joined by Nicolas, the Group Commercial Director of Latitude Hotels. And as you can see, he is situated in Latitude 15, our property in Lusaka, with a beautiful backdrop. I presume that's not your sitting room at home.
I am, yeah. No, I am I'm at the other side at Latitude 15 in Lusaka.
Brilliant. Well, thanks so much for joining me, Nicolas, this morning. And I just wanted to have a quick chat with you about the situation at the hotels. Obviously, we've got the 3 hotels in Lilongwe, Lusaka and Kampala. And it would just be really useful for you to be able to give our viewers a quick update of what the situation is on the ground with the properties.
Okay, well, first of all, at Latitude, we're all about people. So it's been extremely difficult during this time, as it has been for everybody around the world, to be apart from our team members and obviously have no guests since we've mothballed the properties a couple of months ago. But we are starting now to kind of get to grips with the various changes that the world is now going through and how they affect our business specifically, and to kind of bring those into our future offering.
And so what are you actually doing within the hotels themselves at the moment? What are you actually going through, the processes you're going through at the moment? In terms of, obviously your staff are not there, other staff going through training, how have you looked after your staff during this difficult time?
So the staff have been at home since we closed down the properties, all 3 properties, in very early April. We're in the very fortunate position that we've been able to keep them on salary. We made a unanimous decision as management, both at senior level and also at property level, that we would all take a very significant pay cut in order to ensure that our junior level staff, the ones that are a little bit more vulnerable in terms of living a little bit more hand to mouth, were able to have their full salaries. They've also obviously been in contact with their heads of department throughout this whole period, kind of offering an emotional emotional support, as well as updating them on the processes that we're going through, and getting them ready to come back in at some stage in the quite near future to start retraining and also refresher training. Obviously, a lot of our SOPs and operating protocols have been thrown out the window. They've been rewritten by various people within the organization and also consultants outside the organization to make sure that we're implementing best practice initiatives. And now we have to take the teams through those training processes to make sure that they're au fait with the new normal that we're entering into.
Because obviously at Latitude, it's not just about the hotel, is it? Because you have so many different elements to your offering in terms of your restaurants, your bars, the works and the spas. There's so many different elements to actually take on board as to how you actually, I suppose, re-look at everything and re-engage the staff, and we're all getting used to this new normal, but you've got so many different offerings. You've almost got a kind of multi-leveled approach to it.
That's right. We're not just the boutique hotels that we're known for. We're also, the other side, which is more of our socializing and networking hub, where a lot of the entertainment used to happen at Latitude. We're also spas and gyms and workspaces, all of which are open to not only the guests, but also the local residents around us. They're extremely popular locations. Of course, the restaurants as well. And apart from Latitude 13 in Lilongwe, we have multiple restaurant offerings in the properties. So we're fortunate in that way, in that we will be able to reopen, unlike a lot of the other tourist destinations and not destinations, but tourist lodges and operators. That we can open in a phased approach. So we won't open, for example, all of our restaurants at one time. We won't necessarily open the full hotel at any given time until that demand starts to come back. But that also gives us the opportunity to really spend time with our teams to really ensure that they understand the protocols that we're putting in place, to test them as well. I use the word test with the local market, allowing restricted numbers back into the properties in terms of restauranting, in terms of spa, in terms of gym, so that they can get a real feel for what that new normal is, and how we need to approach our guest experience moving forward.
And I know that obviously CSR, the corporate social responsibility, is at the heart of everything that Latitude does. And I know you personally have been very busy in this period of lockdown doing various different projects. Do you want to tell the viewers a bit about what you and your team and your supporters have been doing during this time?
So about 5 or 6 weeks ago, when we were just after we closed down, we were very aware that, you know, even though our staff and our teams are very well looked after, the communities in which they live are probably a little bit more hard hit than most. So my colleague Alessandra and I set about putting together some sort of fundraising exercise, which, you know, in the current restrictions, is obviously quite difficult. You know, the kind of traditional forms of fundraising are kind of thrown out the window. So we decided, with Latitude 15 being located in Zambia, which has had one of the least restrictive lockdowns. We had an empty hotel, we had a swimming pool, and so we decided that we would set together a 24-hour swim-a-thon. We involved 15 Latitude staff and supporters in this process, all very well social distance. It was overseen by both the Ministry of Health and the Zambia Institute for Public Health as well, without whom we couldn't have held this event. We live streamed it 24 hours, the 24-hour period on our social media, and we set up a Just Giving page, which in the space of I think the first 48 hours it was open, which was 24 hours before the event, and then including the 24 hours, raised about $17,000, and it's gone on in the couple of weeks after that to raise just over $27,000. And all of this money is meant to kind of better the circumstances of the local communities in which our staff live. So it's not only supporting our staff because it's their wider community, but it's also supporting their neighbors, their friends. It gives them a little bit of kudos as well, that their company is really stepping up and trying to improve the situation that they're all in. And we're now in the process of starting to tell that story. We're starting to liaise with initiatives that we will hopefully have long partnerships with, working right at the grassroots level in those communities to provide things like hand washing stations at strategic points in those communities, PPE in terms of face masks and whatnot, and also some basic food requisites, because a lot of those people in those communities they're living very hand to mouth. They're living, you know, for the day, not even you know, paycheck to paycheck. So we're going through that exciting process now, and that launched a new way of thinking about social impact for us, which we call Latitude, and this will in which we have multiple fundraisers throughout the year to continue supporting those communities.
Yeah, that's a great achievement, an amazing amount of money raised, and it will be, yeah, I know we're going to keep everyone updated with how the money is being spent, and I think it's particularly the idea is it's going to roll out across the other hotels as well. It's not just a one-off campaign for this particular time, is it? It's going to be a kind of ongoing program of different.
Yeah, we had to have this one in Lusaka because Malawi and Uganda both have their own set of restrictions in terms of lockdown, and so what we'd hoped was going to be a group fundraiser. We had to start off and kick off at Latitude 15, but you know, the money that we've raised will go to all three hotels for the communities around them. And yes, it will become an annual event, and there will be other events tailored within the calendar year as well. We're also looking at ways in which we can involve our guests in that. So in that process, be it visiting the communities, giving something to the communities when they visit, and also making sure that information about these communities is available to our guests, you know, through our website, through social media, through various other platforms as well.
And just talking about the guests, how do you anticipate, I mean, obviously the post-Covid-19 traveller is going to be looking for something quite different to pre this pandemic, and how do you anticipate adapting the hotel experience for that post-Covid-19 traveller who is going to be ultimately looking for more space? Health and safety is going to be much more of a priority. How do you talk us through the kind of guest journey, I suppose, a bit more in terms of when they're at the hotel?
So we've looked at all of our protocols and procedures, from picking the guest up at the airport, and maintaining them, you know, in a safe environment throughout their whole stay. So it's, you know, we're looking towards, like many hotel groups are, you know, the self check-in before you even arrive. They're really reducing the number of touch points throughout that check-in process, and also the touch points throughout the whole guest experience while they're here at Latitude. One of the most fortunate things about us at Latitude is we maintain, because we're boutique hotels, that by nature we're fairly small. Not only that, but because of the popularity of them with the local community, over the past few years, all of these properties, with the exception of Kampala, which was built obviously to be the size it is now, they've all expanded. And with that expansion, we've gained fantastic outdoor spaces, gardens, dining spaces. Also a lot of private dining spaces, a lot of private experience spaces. So even though we have the main lounges and lobbies and things like that, there is a lot more space for you to kind of stretch out and relax in a lounge like this, for example, and in much smaller bespoke spaces as well. Even places like the Works, if we have people that are coming for work and they need kind of workspaces, we're set up to with our private workspacing and our hot desking to ensure that social distancing is easily maintained within the hotel, but doesn't also feel like you're being restricted in a particular corner. Being in Africa, one of the most fortunate things is, we live outdoors basically for 9 months of the year. And these long verandas, this nice, breezes throughout all of the wide open spaces, is also gives that sense of freedom to the guests.
And finally, just to wrap up, would you like to send a message to the trade, to the people who are viewing this?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be a bit bolshy and say that I'm feeling quite upbeat about the future. Not least because I think that Africa has not only so much to deliver, but it's also quite a rough and ready place to do business. It's ever changing. Change comes quite naturally to people in Africa, I think, also because Africa is predominantly, especially for the tourist market, it's wide open spaces, it's great sunshine, it is lots of fresh air. I think that we're going to bounce back fairly quickly, and I can't wait for those tourists to start coming back through the door, all excited about their safari adventures and coming to Latitude for their kind of decompression guest experience after their long flights and that. But yeah, I think that Africa still has a lot to deliver, and because what you're getting in Africa is a more bespoke service than some of the mass populated tourist destinations, I think that we can deliver a guest experience that is going to divert thought away from the crisis that we're currently going through. I certainly hope that's the case anyway.
No, I 100% agree with that. Thanks so much, Nicolas, for joining us this afternoon, and keep well and keep safe. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Anita. Take care.